Hey everyone, Michelle Seidling here with another episode of Food Experience Unplugged. Today we'll explore the importance of balancing fitness and nutrition. Here to help us do that is Serena Sabala, a certified yoga teacher, plant-based nutrition consultant, and fitness trainer with Whole Shift Wellness. She's also the author of the new book, Make the Shift, a proven method for busy professionals to transform their health, well-being, and confidence. Serena Sabala, welcome to Food Experience Unplugged.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
Well, we are so excited to have you. You are one of the premier nutrition and fitness experts. I love how you combine the two. You've got so many different activities going on, and I look forward to talking with you about it, and as well as your new book, which we'll talk about in a few minutes as well. Could you start out by telling a little bit about yourself, introduce yourself, and what brought you to this point?
Sure. My name is Serena. I'm a certified plant-based nutrition consultant, yoga teacher, and fitness trainer. I am also the co-founder of Whole Shift Wellness together with my husband, Eugene. We have over 20 years of combined experience in various fields of the health and wellness industry. And this has allowed us to develop a proven methodology to shift you, transform you into your most fit, healthy, and confident self within 1 year. We've had the pleasure of transforming the well-being of over 500 professionals across 5 countries. We've traveled a lot in our lives. And just recently in January, I published my first book called Make the Shift, which delves deep into our proven methodology and gives very effective exercises, tips, information that you can start implementing into your lifestyle right away to start getting new results immediately, because that's what matters to us the most.
Sure. And now, how did you get into the health and wellness space?
Right. So, I mean, the seed for health and wellness was planted in my consciousness at a very young age. I was only 8 years old when my dad, who was an incredibly successful entrepreneur and business owner at the time, sadly got sick. And I now realize that he simply didn't have the tools to take the best possible care of himself, whilst also, juggling the pressures of this fast-growing creative business and a young family, etc., etc. And so, in him getting sick, he ended up losing everything he'd worked so hard for, and the whole experience had huge repercussions on my life as well and the life of the entire family. And I think that's when I became very present with how our health and well-being truly is the foundation of our life as a whole. Nothing matters most, and it's so much harder to regain once we lose it than it is to maintain it. So it became a bit of a lifelong passion to constantly research and find new ways to take the best possible care of me. And pretty early on, I discovered yoga now almost 20 years ago, and that's what kind of shifted my mindset into a more holistic approach to health and well-being, and really looking at the full picture rather than just focusing on only one aspect, one element. Because we truly believe that in order to achieve the greatest results with the least amount of effort, it's better to look at the full picture. And so I fell in love with the yoga, which led me to become a certified yoga teacher almost 10 years ago now. And from then on, it was literally just an organic process of turning what was a lifelong passion into what now is our livelihood together with my husband.
Sure, that's wonderful. So now, do you both do both nutrition and fitness, or do you have
No,
your own
yeah,
areas?
exactly. I do nutrition. We both do yoga and we both do fitness. And my husband is also a certified physiotherapy aide and therapeutic masseuse. So he does therapy work as well. And we bring in all these modalities and then some more to create what we believe is the ultimate comprehensive offering.
That is wonderful. I love how you both complement each other with your different skill sets and experience. That is super wonderful and important to
Yes,
balance all of that. And
100%.
so, and I love your journey with kind of seeing your dad. I'm so sorry for having that you had to go through that, but it seems like it was a good learning experience for you and really taking off career wise.
100%. At the time, obviously, I didn't see it like that. I was only a small child, and it took me quite some years to kind of overcome my own kind of scars and the repercussions of the experience. But now I can truly say I see it as a blessing in so many ways. It has profoundly influenced my life for the better and shaped it for the better. And it continues to motivate me greatly to do what I do. So I would not I would not take it back if even if I had a chance to.
Sure. Do you have siblings?
Yes, I do have a younger sister.
Okay. Okay. How was she impacted? Was she kind of sparked as well, similar to what you're doing?
Interestingly, this is a brilliant question because we're quite different in many ways. Although the more we grow older, the more we are becoming more and more similar. And she was impacted massively as well, although in very different ways from me. But the one thing that we both have in common is this passion for health and wellness. So that seed was planted in me as much as it was planted in her do to put our health and well-being at the forefront of our lives.
That is wonderful. That's so, it's kind of sometimes it takes a situation like that to really move somebody, but it's wonderful how you've progressed with your fitness and nutrition experience and how that you can help so many other people through all of your services. That is amazing.
Thank you.
Oh. Now you talked a little bit about your new book, Make the Shift. Now, why this book? Why did you decide to write it, and how do you feel that it's really helping people?
I decided to write it because I have a little bit of an ambitious goal of us wanting to impact the life of at least 1 million people in our lifetime and
Wow.
spark a shift into the life of 1 million people. And I kind of, with that in mind, I was thinking of ways to reach the greatest amount of people without geographic boundaries, etc. And we already do that in our work because we have our shifts are designed to be able to be delivered all over the world, but nothing really does it quite like a good book. And I myself, my life has been positively impacted and continues to be by all the books that I read that which kind of open my eyes to new knowledge and new information. And I am an avid reader. I've always loved it. So to me, it became an obvious route to be able to just spread our messages and spread our methodology as effectively as we could. And I designed it precisely to be more a sort of a workbook than just a reading book.
Mm.
I share openly some of the exercises that we utilize in our coaching practice with our shifters because I really wanted to spark real change in the reader. I would love for anybody who picks up this book to then be able to implement something new into their lifestyle right away and actually start making changes right away. And in order to do so, I structured it so that it really sparks new action. It doesn't just remain a theoretical exercise, it translates into a practical exercise as well.
Sure. Wow, that is wonderful. So they can basically start doing your program just from this book, essentially.
100%. It's all in there. Obviously, it's not the same as working one on one, but I didn't hold back. I shared our entire methodology step by step. So anybody can start taking their own steps in that direction.
Sure, wonderful. And then they have, if they want to supplement that, they can take your coach one-on-one coaching or go to one of your retreats or anything like that.
Absolutely. In fact, one of the kind of silver lining of this pandemic has been that we have been able to spend a lot of extra time developing a digital product, which is our new platform called Whole Shift Wellness Plus. And it's where we deliver all our classes, all our methodology, and all our services completely remotely via a Facebook group and Zoom. So there are a lot of ways to access us no matter where you are in the world, to whatever capacity anybody feels comfortable doing, of course.
Sure. Wow, that is amazing. That's really how you're really taking advantage of the different technologies of in person when you can and other things. That's really amazing, Serena.
Thank you.
Whoa. So let's talk a little bit about balancing fitness and nutrition. A lot of times some people think they try to do one without the other. They try to, okay, I want to improve my eating habits, or I want to run a marathon or something of that nature. But why is it important to balance the two?
That's a brilliant question, and thank you, by the way, for you for picking up this as the topic of our conversation. Because one of the most common mistakes we see, especially busy professionals make when they want to start getting healthier and fitter, is precisely what you said. They tend to want to focus more on one of the two, and they generally tend to want to focus on the one that they find themselves more comfortable with, that it's already somewhat of a strong point to some extent for them. And so if they're already somewhat enjoying working out, they think that the answer to achieving greater results is to work out even harder or to spend even more hours at the gym or running, etc. Or if they hate working out, but they are more in control of their eating, they think that trying a new diet, fad, or whatever you, or restricting their calorie intake even further is the solution to achieving new results. And in our experience, that's the opposite of optimal health and well-being. Actually, we have come to identify what we believe are the three most fundamental pillars of health and well-being. And so we genuinely believe that in order for you to achieve the best results and maintain them, sustain them in a way that doesn't feel like too much hard work, you need to develop a strategy which allows you to strengthen all three pillars in a very systematic and cohesive way. Two of the pillars are focus and are food and fitness. So, one of the things that I always tell our shifters is food is fundamental because you cannot outrun a bad diet. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter how fast you go. If you're not eating right, it doesn't matter how active you are. You might even get to the point where you look good from the outside, but you're not healthy from the inside and out. And so bad eating habits will catch up with you eventually anyways. And sadly, they tend to catch up with us in our later years in the form of chronic disease. Because most of the most common chronic disease in the world, and especially in the US, are deeply intertwined and influenced by bad nutrition. And on the other hand, if you only ever focus on nutrition, but constantly shield away from developing a strong fitness routine, you are not fulfilling your body's needs. Because the body is designed to move. It's designed to exert, and it's designed to expand energy. I mean, it's designed to be living in the wild, really, more than it's designed to live in the comforts of modern society. It's designed for millions of years. We didn't have any of the current comforts. Just to survive the day, we had to move so much. So learning to discover a fitness routine that works for you and embrace it and enjoy it and make it a part of your lifestyle, it's fundamental for health and longevity.
That is wonderful. I love that balance and the importance of it. And so many people, gravitate to one or the other, but with I love with your program, then it's possible to kind of have that balance, and that's super important.
It's fundamental. And actually, for as long as you're only doing one but not the other, you're making your life harder. It's so much harder to stay fit if you're only working out but not taking care of your food. And the same goes if it's the other way around. It's so much harder to stay fit if you're only looking after your nutrition but you're not working out at all, because you're constantly having to stay on top of it. You can't afford any, you know, any moves in any different direction. You become, some of our shifters have gotten to the point where they become obsessed and have to think about food all the time, and that's not the point. That's not the way to live.
Sure. And I love how you consider your clients shifters. That
Yeah.
is really good to kind of understand, who they are, where they're going. That's really neat. I love that.
Thank you.
So, what are some common mistakes people make when they're trying to improve themselves, nutritionally, fitness, a little bit of both? What are some challenges?
Yeah, this is interesting. Thank you for asking this question. It's such a common question that I ended up developing like an ebook to answer the 7 most common mistakes that we see reoccurring
Oh,
time and time again. Because, we've traveled a lot, we've been around 5 countries, and we couldn't help but notice that no matter where we are, no matter who we are delivering our services to, the same common mistakes kept popping up time and time again. And they happened regardless of geography, age, gender, profession. And one of the most common one actually is um, that um, somebody knows that they're not fulfilling their potential in the space of health and wellness. They're not doing as good as they should. So they know, they're present with the fact that things need to change, but they never take the first step in a new direction. They
mm,
view their health and well-being as this huge mountain to climb, and because it feels so overwhelming, they never take action. So they end up just remaining stuck in the status quo and giving up on themselves. So that's sadly a very common one we see happening. The second most common one is the extreme opposite, which is what we call the New Year resolution syndrome, whereby they decide that it's time to change. They have a spark, they have that excitement, they decided they've had enough, and they decided this is it, things are going to change. But because they end up changing too much, too quickly, too drastically, they create a new regimen which is unsustainable and, quite frankly, at times painful and even dangerous. And they last 2 weeks and then they give up because it's too much hard work.
mhm. True. Wow. And yes, you've got the two bookends, so to speak, and both of them either don't start or give up.
Right,
And
exactly. So, and for every time it happens, especially that New Year resolution syndrome, for every time it happens, it ends up denting your confidence just a little bit more, just a little bit more. There's people that do it every year. Every year they try and give up, they try and give up, they try and give up. So it gets progressively more and more difficult to even get started, because it's every time it dents your confidence and your self-esteem and your belief systems. So we try and educate all our shifters against the most common mistakes, and in particular these two. Uh, and it takes daily work to avoid them.
sure. Now, do you find that you mentioned the two extremes, but is there any one particular situation that you feel is the most challenging part of, really helping people to start and to keep up that whole nutrition and fitness combination?
Yeah, I mean, um, one of the most challenging things, and one of the things that we have to monitor the most and implement the most, is that of patience. You know, the moment we change on an emotional level or a psychological level, because imagine, you're on this journey and you've decided that you want to transform your life and you decided to work with us, and so we start doing coaching sessions, and in these coaching sessions they can literally transform their mindset profoundly from day one. They can go through the session and come out of it feeling like a new person.
Mhm.
However, the body takes a little bit longer to catch up with this transformation. So if you come out of one session feeling you're completely transformed and you're a new person and you get it now and you know what you need to do, and you expect your body to change as quickly and for you to lose the weight as quickly or to gain the body of your dreams as quickly as you've changed on an emotional or psychological level, you'll end up being disappointing because it takes a little bit longer for the body to catch up with the changes and for you to start moving in a way that is sustainable and will bring the results, but it won't bring results overnight.
Mm-hmm.
And I think society these days is wired to deliver the greatest amount of pleasure and gratification in the shortest amount of time. We are wired for short-term fixes and for immediate results and gratification. And I think when it comes to health and wellness and longevity and transformation, it doesn't work like that. It doesn't happen overnight. There are no quick fixes or short-term fixes that genuinely work. So we have to constantly remind our shifters, take it easy, step by step, fall in love with the journey. It's not about getting there as quickly as you can. It's about enjoying the ride.
Sure, good point. That's a lot of with that, like what you said with instant gratification. Everyone wants to have this perfect body overnight. So yeah, that's super important to kind of help them to be patient and focus. Now, do you find that your new retreat shifters or other programs that other members of your programs do you find that they are more likely to go the distance, go the whole program and really stay focused, or do you find that people still struggle with that instant gratification?
No. I mean, the moment you enroll in one of our shifts and you start working with us on a one-on-one basis, to whatever extent you feel comfortable doing, whether it's remotely or in person, these are precisely the things that we will start implementing with you, where you will find yourself finally transforming your approach and your mindset. This is where we make a difference, essentially, to our shifters' journey. And it's remarkable and to witness, and we're very grateful to be able to do this for a living, because the moment they really transform their mindset, shift their mindset, and get rid of these old belief systems and these old habit patterns that do not support their goals, they genuinely start enjoying themselves in the process of becoming their most fit, healthy, and confident self, which is something that many of them didn't even think was possible. They had this association that it was supposed to be a painful journey. So it's beautiful and very rewarding to witness.
Oh, I'm sure it is, that especially their enthusiasm, seeing their enthusiasm grow as they progress through the program. So
Absolutely.
that is wonderful. So let's talk about, we talked about, balancing the two. What are some examples of kind of what I would call matching, making sure if you have a certain fitness routine, making sure that you have a certain type of nutrition or vice versa?
Right. That's a great question. What I have found in my experience is that, well, first of all, nutrition is highly personal. So there are what we call the universal principles of optimal nutrition, which apply to anybody. If you're a human being, they apply to you. But then there's you, and you're different from anybody else. And for as long as you try and eat what somebody else is eating in order to achieve the results that they are achieving, you might throw yourself slightly off balance, because nobody else is truly like you. There is not one other body in this world which is like your body. It's very unique. We all have very unique requirements and preferences. So rather than trying to match your nutrition which, by the way, to some extent you probably need to do. For instance, I'm a certified Bikram yoga teacher, and Bikram yoga is practiced in a heated room, which is 40 degrees Celsius, 105 Fahrenheit. So it's very hot and it's very humid in there, 40% humidity. So if you do sweat a lot, and if you do activities that cause you to lose a lot of fluids regularly, then obviously you need to make sure that you are rehydrating more than the average person. And for some people, just drinking water might not be sufficient. So you got to make sure that you eat plenty of foods that naturally contain a lot of water to be able to rehydrate through your food as well. So loads of fruits and loads of vegetables. So you got to pay attention to your activity. But the single most important thing that you should be paying attention to and learn to understand is the signals that your body is sending you all day, throughout the day. And that's one of the fundamental parts of our work, is to really teach our shifters to learn to speak the language of their body, especially when it comes to nutrition. Because that is truly, I believe, the only way that you can learn to eat in the way that suits you best. You got to understand nutrition and the fundamental overarching principles of healthy nutrition, but you've got to really develop an ability to connect with your body and figure out what are the foods that work for you and or not. What is your body asking for at each meal? How much food is your body asking for? We don't ask these questions. We just feed it mechanically without ever even wondering what it needs. And that's what, or we do the diet. So we do like a pre-made, prefabricated diet, which is supposed to work for you just because you're that tall and you weigh that much. And I don't believe that there is such a thing as a prefabricated diet that can work for you, because it doesn't know you. It doesn't take you into account.
Sure, absolutely. I love that. And it's fact, the bio individuality, that we're all different, and, adjusting if you have a food allergy, for example, or if you have other situations. Now, are there particular nutritional requirements for different fitness routines? Like, for example, if you're doing yoga, or if you're a runner, or if you're engaged in some other type of physical activity?
Well, it kind of really depends, rather than on what the nature of your physical activity is, more the amount, how much energy are you expending every day. Like I said, if you're sweating, if you're doing activities that cause you to sweat a lot, then you got to make sure that you are rehydrating and that you're getting enough electrolytes. So eating tons of plants allows you to take in both loads of water and loads of electrolytes. Outside of that, I would say the thing that you want to pay attention to is your level of activity, your activity level, and making sure that you're giving your body enough of what it needs in order to sustain your level of activity. And it's interesting, and I always share this with our shifters because it really allows them to look at things differently. Your body doesn't only think in terms of calories. Your body thinks in terms of nutrients. So it doesn't just need like 1,400 calories or 2,000 calories or whatever your calorie requirement you think may be. It needs a minimum amount of all macronutrients and micronutrients. So not just carbohydrate, protein, and fat, and fiber and water, but also vitamins and minerals. So really the way to maximize your fitness results is to make sure that you're not only getting enough calories, but that you're also getting enough nutrients. And so that you're eating a diet that is as nutrient dense as possible, that gives you as much nutrients in the required calories as possible. Because if you're not getting enough nutrients, the body will constantly ask for it. So it'll constantly ask for more food. And so that's what tends to cause people to exceed their caloric intake, is that because they're not getting enough nutrients, they get the cravings, or they get the slump in energy, or etc., etc. And so they reach for more food. They end up going over the calories, but never meeting the minimum requirements of micronutrients.
Sure, absolutely. I love that. As two people doing the same thing, maybe they would have two different nutritional requirements. If
Completely.
you had two runners doing both of them, we're going to get ready for a marathon, but yet each of them would have their own nutritional requirements and their own
But
needs.
absolutely, absolutely, depending on their own individual body composition and et cetera, et cetera. But interestingly, they might have very similar bodies and very similar calorific requirements. And so they might both eat a diet that contains, let's say, 2,000 calories, but one person is choosing to eat real wholesome food that contains a lot of micronutrients. And let me tell you, without a doubt, that person will fare better than the person who's eating the same amount of calories, but is getting those calories from food that is very, that is very, that lacks all the nutrients, processed food and junk food and all that kind of stuff.
Sure, definitely. Now, on the flip side, with there are I don't know, probably hundreds of different diets out there and different eating routines. Are there particular fitness, I guess, recommendations or routines that people do based on what diet they're on? Like, for example, if you do keto, is there an optimal fitness routine or some other diet? Are
Yeah.
there
What I've discovered is that the optimal diet for human consumption also turns out to be the best diet for you, regardless of what your preferred fitness approach is. And so the more real food you eat, and I mean, whole grains, uh, real fruit, fresh fruit, as seasonal as possible, vegetables, legumes, um, all the food that Mother Nature designed us to eat. That's the food that will end up um, giving you the best results, regardless of what your fitness regime is. And it's funny, there's a bunch of quite powerful documentaries on this very topic out there, which literally talks about professional athletes and how so many of them are shifting towards this more holistic and real way of eating, and they are completely different people. So we're talking about bodybuilders and people who win, weightlifting competitions versus sprint runners versus cyclists. So very different kinds of fitness routine and training regimes. But and so therefore the composition of their plate might be different, because if you do a very cardio based activity, you need a lot of glucose storage in your muscles, so you need to eat more carbs than somebody who perhaps does weightlifting and might choose to eat a little bit more protein because it's putting its muscles under a lot of stress and needs to replenish its protein intake. But they're getting their carbohydrates and their protein from the same sources. They're just changing the composition of their plate. So they might have a little bit more beans or legumes and a little less rice, or vice versa.
Sure. And now when you like, for example, when somebody, joins Whole Shift Wellness, and do you is there a specific type of fitness routine, eating plan that you recommend? How do you bring them to really being in tune? You mentioned being in tune with what your body needs. It's depending on what their goals are. How do you bring them so they know, hey, I need, this amount of protein because I'm trying to build muscle, or if I'm, a swimmer, I need, different amounts of carbs, things like that. What are
Mm.
some, how do you bring a client or a person to that point?
Well, it's interesting. I have never prescribed the same eating routine to two people. Um, it's all very unique and very personal, and it needs to take into account your actual preferences. So, what food do you actually enjoy the taste of? What do you actually enjoy eating?
Sure.
Because enjoying the food is just as important as making sure that you're getting the right amount of carbs and protein and fats. So the way we do this with our shifters is we review their eating every single week, and we fine tune gradually week on week and monitor the results of each slight addition or modification. And so each week builds upon the next, which builds upon the next. So I don't know what I would have somebody do on week 6, because it depends on week 1 to 5. It's a process that grows and evolves with them, essentially.
Sure. I love how you're doing that, how you're really working with wherever the person's at to really
Exactly.
help them to make that shift and that transformation. So, do you have any examples of maybe one of someone that you've worked with who has really transformed over the
Oh
course
God,
of the
so
time?
many examples. I mean, one of our lovely shifters, I won't mention names just because I don't have her authorization to talk about it. She lost 11 pounds in less than less than 6 weeks. I think it was between 4 and 5 weeks. But it's not so much that, because it's not just the weight loss. She started relieving all these chronic conditions such as swelling in her legs and tremors and insomnia. So really profound transformation. And what was even more interesting is that her husband, who is not a part of the program, so he's not working with us, and he suffers from type 2 diabetes, and he was so inspired by her changes and transformation that he simply started mimicking her and doing some of the things that she was doing, and he's reversing his type 2 diabetes. His blood sugar dropped 50 points in just 2 weeks of him doing some of the things that she's doing. So it's kind of the ripple effect of when somebody goes through the transformation, inspires others to do the same, and then everybody gets better and gets healthier.
Sure, absolutely. That is wonderful. And then, the shifter themselves, they may experience other good side effects of what they're doing if they had a chronic condition, or if maybe they're just have more energy or other things. That is fantastic.
Absolutely.
Oh. Now you focus on the 1 year mark. You say, you're going to be able to do these things after 1 year. Is that kind of how did you focus on the 1 year mark? What information were you seeing or experiences that led you to kind of focus on that type of time frame?
Well, we found that that's generally the average time that everybody spends in order to achieve their results. It's not a fixed time slot, but it's the one that we find as kind of can trigger the greatest amount of transformation. Some people get to where they intended to be in 6 months. Some people take 2 years. So it's not a time frame that's set in stone, but we find that with our methodology and with our work, by sticking with it for a year, you will profoundly transform your life for the better. And it's a time frame that seems to be working well on average. Like I said, it's not set in stone, but it's tends to be the most popular time frame.
Sure. And do you find that people often continue the program beyond a year as well?
Yeah, some people choose to, and we offer different versions of more toned down programs for those who are just looking to maintain a healthy lifestyle rather than those who are aspiring to achieve their goals. So there's different ways that we can continue to keep them motivated and continue to keep them inspired. Really, truly, if I'm honest, it's a journey of a lifetime. So you're never really done taking care of yourself, and you should not aspire to ever be done taking care of yourself. You should continue to want to do so for the rest of your life.
Absolutely. I love that. Yes. It's health and wellness. It's a continuing journey, but it has so many great benefits, as I'm sure all of your shifters can attest to. Oh, that is wonderful.
Thank you.
Well, Serena, how can people get in contact with you? And if they want to buy your book or your ebook, you mentioned you had an ebook as well. How do they do that?
My book, Make the Shift, is on Amazon. So if you just type in the title, Make the Shift, or you type in my name, Serena Sabala, you'll come up and you can find it. It's definitely available in the US and Canada and most Western countries. Um, the best way to get in contact with us is our website, which is www.wholeshiftwellness.com. And that's where you'll find tons of free resources, free downloads, our scorecard questionnaire, which is an amazing tool to help you score your current level of development across the 3 pillars of well-being in just under 5 minutes. Or all our ebooks are also on the website.
Oh, wonderful. That's amazing. We will definitely include those in the show notes so people can check out your programs and buy the book and start making the shift.
Exactly, exactly.
Oh, well, Serena, it's been a pleasure. Thank you so much for joining us, and I'm excited to see the progress that your shifters continue to make.
Thank you for having me. It's been wonderful.
If you enjoyed today's episode, be sure to hit the like button and subscribe to be notified as new episodes become available. You can also visit our website at foodexperienceunplugged.com to check out some free resources on helping you develop healthy eating habits for life success.